Hi there, welcome to Floating in Books. This is going to be my Edinburgh Book Haul. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you saw my latest vlog, which went up last week, then you will have seen me shopping for books while I was on my most recent trip to Edinburgh. And today I'm going to be showing you all the books that I bought. I bought a lot more than what you could see in the still, but I pulled a muscle the other day before I sat down to film this video, so I can't hold up too many books in one go, because if I lift anything too heavy, my back is no bueno. So I'm just going to show you all the books I got when I was on that trip. And yeah, then you will be able to see exactly all the books that I picked up. So I knew before going to Edinburgh that there would be loads of great bookstores there. So I visited lots of independent bookstores and like smaller things, but also some of the bigger chains, you could say. So I went to quite a few different places. And one of the first places I stopped at was Golden Hair Books. Everywhere I went, I asked them if they could put it in paper, because I was like, if I then put it in a bag, at least they're going to be a little bit more protected and they're not going to get like banged about when I travel back home. And at Golden Hair, I got 2 books. And one of the things that I loved about this store was that it was really small and it had a really, really good selection of things. Sometimes if I go to these bigger stores like a Waterstones, I can get really overwhelmed and I no longer know what to pick up because there are just so many good books and everything screams by me, and then I sort of have a meltdown and I buy nothing. That definitely happened at some places, but at Golden Hair, it was really nice and selected and it was all nicely laid out, so I was able to pick up 2 books. So the first book I picked up is this one. This is Feast While You Can by Mikaella, Clements, and Onjuli Datta. As far as I know, I don't know too much about these books because I just read the blurb and that's what spoke to me. A lot of these books I didn't see on Book Talk, or I didn't know much about it going into it. So with this, I have no clue. I just know there is a lady, there's a monster inside her. This monster belongs to this town, and apparently it feeds off of her experiences. That's sort of what I got from this, and I really just thought that it could be a nice sort of like horror-esque for this time of year. I've almost hit my 50 book reading goal for the year. I'm very, very close. I'm just a couple of books short, and I think I can actually reach it already by the end of November, which I don't know why, but it feels very freeing to me that I can just pick up whatever. And this is definitely one of the books that I think I might pick up really, really soon. And it's got a little sticker because it's also signed. I didn't even look at that, but it's got the signatures of the authors right there. And then we have this book. This is a collection of short stories by Celia Fremlin. This is Don't Go to Sleep in the Dark. And this is apparently like Gothic classics. This lady wrote a lot of stories, I think in like the 50s or the 60s. They're like older stories, but they're all short stories in this really, really gorgeous cover. That's what spoke to me, really. And it's all like just a couple of pages per story for each one of them. So it's like less than 10 pages sometimes. And apparently it's like one of the queens of Gothic fiction. I had never heard of her, and I've read a lot of Gothic fiction in my day, so I love exploring other authors that I haven't heard of before. Then one of the places I went to is Type Wronger Books, and this was a really cute place, again, really small, tucked away into this little alcove, and there they had all of these books that are divided up by typewriters. They essentially have typewriters everywhere, and I just bought this one, The Tokyo Zodiac Murders, a cult classic locked room mystery. I'm really in my crime era at the minute. I'm loving a good detective story, and this is set in Tokyo, and it's about an artist who's found murdered in their room, but it's locked from the inside, and then decades later, a detective's trying to figure out what actually happened. I actually found another book that sounded really similar to this, but I just picked up this one because it sounded interesting. I don't know. I hope to be able to go to Tokyo next year, so I definitely want to read some Tokyo-related literature in the lead up to my trip, because I think that's going to be good preparation for it, even though I'm not sure whether reading crime novels about Tokyo is going to be the best way to do that, but I'm going to commit. I also went to Blackwell's, and Blackwell's is, I think I first spotted them in Oxford. That's where they're originally located, but they have several stores around the country, and they were bought in, I think think 2022. So about 2 years ago, they were actually bought by the Waterstones group. So they're no longer independent, you could say, but that location is where the oldest bookshop of Edinburgh is located, according to this tote bag. I thought that was fun. And it's a really sturdy tote bag, and I can never have enough tote bags. And there I picked up 2 of my most anticipated reads of this fall. These were new hardback editions. That's the one thing I dislike about new books, especially in the UK, is that it's so hard to find a paperback until like a year later, but I did commit. I bought Sally Rooney's Intermezzo and the latest book from Richard Osman, We Solve Murders. I know that the Thursday Murder Club, which is also by Richard Osman, is currently like on hold. There are 4 books out in that, and he's written this one about, I think, a dad-daughter combo or something like that, who solve murders together. So I think it's going to be like a similar vein with like dry English humor. And Sally Rooney, I've read all of her other books. Beautiful World, Where Art Thou wasn't my favorite, but I've loved Conversations with Friends most. That's her first novel. That's the one I liked best. And I did like Normal People as well. But I can't wait to read Intermezzo. I've heard good things about this one. So wanted to pick up those 2. Those were on the wish list before I left. But then Blackwell's also had an entire section dedicated to Scottish fiction. And that's where I bought this one. They had regular, like, modern lit fic kind of stuff on one wall, and then the other wall was dedicated to crime novels set in Scotland. So I was like, I'm down. And I found this, Beloved Poison, which is the first book in a series. It's by E.S. Thompson, and it's about a lady apothecary, and it's set in, like, Victorian-era Edinburgh. At least I think it is. Anyways, and she specializes in poisons, and of course there's like murders going on here with poisons. I found the 4th or 5th book in this series lying on the table, and it looked interesting, but then on the shelves they had the first one sitting there, so it was like, if this is a series, I might as well start with the first one. Yeah, and apparently it's just, you know, a Victorian crime novel set in Scotland. I already read a couple of those. I love the Oscar de Muriel Freya McGrath series. I love that one. That's also set in Victorian Edinburgh, and I hope that this is sort of giving me a same vibe. I'm not sure. It doesn't say here whether it's set in Edinburgh or not. So, but we'll figure it out. It's set in Scotland anyways. Like, any book that was like set in Scotland or written by Scottish authors was like on those tables and on those shelves, so that's why I went with this one. And I found this one in the crime section at Blackwell's. This is apparently based on true crime, but it is fictionalized, and this is by Camilla Bruce, and it's Triflers Need Not Apply, and it's about a lady who kills all of her husbands, as far as I know from the blurb in the back, but it's set on like a real case. That's all I know about it. So this, again, sounded interesting. I love a good historic crime novel. We all know that. And this, I think, doesn't say where it's set. This wasn't in the Scottish section. This was just in the regular crime section. But, you know, it's Victorian England, and I lived for that decade. So then I did some damage at Topping, and this was a beautiful bookstore. It had these little shelves with little stairs that you had to climb to get to the top shelf to pick out your books. And they had a really good selection as well. They had some really interesting picks just lying out on tables. I already have plenty of books. We know that. So whenever I go into these bookstores, unless I'm looking for something very particular, I never really even look at the books that are on the shelves. I very often just look at what's on the tables, because that's usually where the newer things are that probably capture my interest most. And here I picked up 4 books, none of which I had even ever heard of before. I got another book that is set in like Edinburgh. It's called Luckenbooth. It's by Jenny Fagan, and this is set in early 20th century Edinburgh, and it's set in one of the closes. And I think there's a murder that happens, or there's a girl with a curse. I don't remember exactly what this was about, but it just gave me, like, again, Victorian era. Well, it's not quite Victorian, because I think Edward was already on the throne by 1910. But it's sort of like that era, like turn of the 20th century, Edinburgh, closes, curses, mysteries. I'm down. So that's all I needed to know to be able to pick this one up. This is C.E. McGill's Our Hideous Progeny, and that's why I just looked at the cover and was like, I want that book. It's sort of like a Frankenstein retelling. It's about the great niece of Victor Frankenstein, and she knows that something happened to him, but she's not really sure what happened. And then she starts to unravel the mystery, and she finds his notebooks. And then more of the mystery is being uncovered. Sort of like, it's like a sequel to Frankenstein, you could say. Not sure whether I'd like this. I just really like the cover of this. And Frankenstein is one of my favorite novels of all time. So I figured I could want more from that sort of realm. And then I have this one here. This is Heather Darwin's The Things We Do to Our Friends. And this is about like a toxic girl group of friends. When I read the blurb in the back, it sounded a lot like a mix of Bunny, which I read by Mona Awad, and Saltburn from the movie that was on Amazon Prime and that had everybody going on. But this is set at Edinburgh University, so I thought that was interesting. It's like a girl who never fits in, and then she meets someone who's like really dazzling and amazing, and then things go wrong. So this is again something like murder mystery, found friends, that sort of thing, but also, and I like the colors of this cover as well. So that sort of grasped me. And this was another book that I didn't see anywhere else. Like, none of the other bookstores had this. And then this is also a book I had never seen before. This is Nat Reeves' Early Fate. And this is a second book in this universe, but from what I could tell from the blurbs, because they also had the first one, it does focus on different characters, but within the same realm. And this was subscribed as queer, steampunky, sort of like alternate universe, Victorian England, but still focusing on like strong women as well. It just sounded amazing. I think the world is what intrigues me most. Yeah, there's someone locked in a morgue, and our main character has to find out what's going on there. I don't know. It sounded interesting. It sounded intriguing. Again, a book I had never heard of. And when I read the blurb on the back of the first one, I was like, not really sure I like that, because that was your classic like high society lady who then turns into a detective. And this seems to be focusing on a different character altogether, and that's why I wanted to read it. I hope I can read it as a standalone and that I didn't have to go in reading the first one before this one. So this is a bit of a gamble. But again, I like the cover of this, and I just really like the description of it. And finally, I went to Waterstones on Princess Street. I did also stop off at Argonaut Books. That was a tip from my server at one of the places I had food. And that was a really, really good tip. I really liked the bookstore, but that was one of the ones where I felt too overwhelmed. And they had a really, really good horror and like gothic selection out. And I couldn't pick. So then I just felt a little numbed, and I couldn't decide what to pick up. Like, I can sometimes go around the bookstore and like nothing grabs me, even though like the same day I bought like 5 more books. I don't know what's wrong with me sometimes. But I did pick up 5 books from Waterstones, but a lot of them, as you can see, are really small. I got 2 from the buy one, get one half off table. And I mainly wanted to get this one because this is the second book in a series that I have the first book of. I haven't read it yet, but it's Emily Wilde's, and this is about a girl who is autistic, and she goes to a town to catalog fairies because that's her specialty. But then she also like falls in love and builds relationships, and this is apparently where the story continues. And I just think these books look amazing, and they now have the second one in a small paperback version. And then I don't know anything about this book. It just says it's an exclusive edition. It's blurred by Laini Taylor, which is good in my book. It's by Georgia Summers, and it's The City of Stardust. I know nothing about it. They were about to close. I was at this table. I was like, I might as well. So it's about a girl whose mother was cursed, and she's trying to break the curse, that sort of thing. I don't know much about it, but the book looked cool. This could be a complete hit. It could also be a total miss. I have no clue. One of the books that I picked up that I didn't recognize, because the only version I've ever seen of this book is this really murky, like almost like The Ring, but like a lady standing in a lake kind of thing. But it's Michael McDowell's Blackwater, and this is the first book in the anthology that I found online, but that one was always like out of stock. I couldn't pick it up, and I think it has gone out of print. But look at this. Look at this edition. So this is published by Penguin, so I hope the other parts of this story are going to come out as well. The only thing I know about this, the reason why I ever wanted to buy this, is because a lot of people were recommending this to me as being a great example of Southern Gothic. That's why I wanted to read it. I was never able to pick up the omnibus that ties all of the stories together, and I found the first story in this beautiful edition. So I can at least read it and dip my toes in, and then afterwards I can figure out whether there's any more of these beautiful editions out. And then on their like popular books in 2024 table, I found 2 books that I'd like to read. Hong Kong is the current winner of the Nobel Prize of Literature that was awarded this year, and The Vegetarian is like the book that they've read, that they've written, that everybody apparently went gaga for. These books have not yet been translated into Dutch, so I knew, because I read an entire spread about this author when they won in my local newspaper that I'm subscribed to, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a really interesting story. So I decided to just pick up one just to give it a try, because this sounds really interesting. And then I picked up this one. This is Jacqueline Hartman's I Who Have Never Known Men. And this is about 39 women who are imprisoned underground in a cage. And then there is another woman, a girl, who is also added to this. Like who they are, I have no clue. But there's a 40th prisoner, and she will be the key to everyone's escape. So this sounds murky, mysterious. I don't know what's going on. Why are these women imprisoned there? I have no clue, so that instantly grabbed me, and I wanted to own this. And those were all of the books I bought, but I found out that Edinburgh still has an HMV. How nostalgic. I used to shop at HMV all the time back when they were still like located on Oxford Street, like the really big one, and there was like a smaller one in Piccadilly Circus. I know, I'm such a millennial. I haven't really bought much music though. Ever since Corona times, I have not been buying music as much as I used to in the past. I feel I have plenty of CDs, but I do like to support artists, and I found all of my favorite albums of the year, and it wasn't super expensive. So I got Fontaine's DC Romance. This is their latest record. I also got the latest record by London Grammar. I buy CDs over vinyl. I have plenty of vinyl. I play it as well. But in the way I was brought up, vinyl stops at 1990, and then afterwards I started buying more CDs. So all of my more modern music is on CDs, and like older stuff from like the 60s and the 70s, that's what's on vinyl. And this is gonna make me sound like such a snob, but modern vinyl pressings are not the same as the vintage ones that I have for my parents that they passed on to me. So the quality is just not the same. So that's why I don't want to pay, I don't know, £30 for a vinyl. I'm just not going to. So CDs it is. I found out that Everything has a new record out as well. I love Everything. I have several of their albums already. This is their latest one, Mountainhead. Chapel Roan's album, because I love her. The extended edition of Brat by Charlie XCX, and then English Teacher, who I still wanted to, I wasn't sure whether I picked this up in London, yes or no, so I decided to buy it because it was not that expensive. It was only £9, and part of me is like, I think I picked this up when I was in London, or I ordered it right after it, but part of me is like, I'm not sure, because I remember like putting this to the side, not being sure whether I'd like it or not. If I've bought it double, I'm going to pass it on to friends because I have plenty of people in my life who might like this. So that's it. Those were all of the bits that I bought in Edinburgh that weren't makeup related. I didn't get too much makeup, but I'll show you the makeup in a video over on the other channel at the start of December when I'm going to show you my haul that I've bought in like that sort of time span. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this video today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Thumbs it up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. I post on here once a week, so we'll be back with a new video very, very soon. Bye-bye.